Stop whatever you are doing right now. I mean it. Pause the task, step away from the distraction, put everything else on hold, and just listen. If you are hearing this voice at this exact moment in time, this is not a random glitch in your algorithm, and it is certainly not a coincidence. This is a deliberate interception of your daily routine. You have been scrolling, searching, and consuming endless streams of content, quietly looking for a specific answer to a psychological weight you have been carrying for months, maybe even years. You are looking for a sign that your struggles actually mean something. This is that sign. You belong to a very specific, incredibly rare demographic. Behavioral psychology tells us that only a tiny fraction of individuals, perhaps less than 1%, ever reach the point of total cognitive dissonance and spiritual exhaustion that you are experiencing right now. You just survived a period of intense mental and emotional depletion. It was a phase where you gave 200% of your energy, your empathy, and your effort, yet received absolute silence and stagnation in return. You have been running on empty, fighting invisible battles in your own mind, and quietly wondering why nobody around you seems to comprehend the true depth of your exhaustion. You have shown up for people who did not show up for you. You have maintained your integrity in rooms full of compromise. I need you to understand the absolute gravity of this exact second. You have just completed a grueling cycle of behavioral and emotional conditioning that breaks most people. They shatter under this kind of pressure. They compromise their standards. They settle for less. They let the bitterness take over. But you did not. You kept walking through the dark. What I am about to unpack for you in the next few minutes will completely decode the psychological paralysis that has kept you trapped in a loop. We are going to permanently dismantle the exact mental frameworks holding you back from your next evolution, and I will show you why that heavy resistance was actually the greatest setup of your life. But before we proceed, I need your conscious, grounded presence. You cannot absorb this while distracted. Take a slow, deep breath, drop your shoulders, and type the words, "I am ready," in the comments below. Let this micro-commitment be the physical anchor that pulls your mind back into this room. The shift begins right now. Let us talk about what has been happening behind closed doors. You have been walking around with a calm demeanor, operating at a high capacity, while internally you feel like you are carefully holding together a million shattered pieces. People look at you and see strength, resilience, and reliability. They see the person who always figures it out, the one who carries the weight for everyone else. But they do not see the crushing exhaustion that hits you when you are finally alone. They do not see the nights where your mind races with anxiety about the future, replaying conversations, analyzing every variable, and calculating how to keep everything afloat. You often feel like an old soul trapped in a world that is moving too fast and caring too little. You have an acute sensitivity to the energies around you, which is why the dissonance of this modern world hurts you far more than it hurts the average person. You have been experiencing a profound sense of isolation, even when you are standing in a room completely surrounded by people. Why? Because your internal frequency is shifting dramatically. The conversations that used to satisfy you now feel incredibly shallow, repetitive, and draining. You crave depth, authenticity, and real connection, but you keep colliding with superficiality. You have given so much of yourself to people, to projects, and to relationships, expecting that the world would naturally reciprocate your immense effort. Yet, over the last few seasons, you have found yourself putting in 200% of the work, only to receive a fraction of the reward. It feels like you are pushing a massive boulder up a steep mountain, and no matter how hard you strain, the summit never seems to get any closer. Let us address the betrayals, because I know that is where your deepest, most heavily guarded wounds are hidden. You have experienced a specific kind of heartbreak recently. It was not just a passing disappointment. It was a fundamental breach of trust from someone you genuinely believed in, someone you defended, someone you considered a safe harbor. It might have been a close friend, a long-term partner, or a trusted professional ally. When the mask finally slipped and you saw their true intentions, it did not just hurt, it completely destabilized your understanding of who you could safely trust. You started questioning your own judgment. You asked yourself, how did I not see this coming? Am I foolish for believing in the good in people? And on top of that relational friction, you have been hit with foundational instability. Things you thought were absolutely secure, perhaps your financial safety net, a reliable career path, or a living situation you took for granted, suddenly began to shake or crumble entirely. The ground beneath your feet has felt like quicksand. Every time you tried to establish a firm footing, another wave of unexpected challenges crashed into you, forcing you into a constant, exhausting state of survival mode. You have had moments where you looked up and asked, why is this so hard? When does it get to be my turn? You have watched people with half your integrity and a fraction of your work ethic seemingly coast through life, while you are forced to fight tooth and nail for every single inch of progress. I want to speak directly to your spirit right now. You are not crazy. You are not cursed. You are not failing. You have been carrying an unreasonable, almost inhuman amount of pressure, and the fact that you are still standing, still breathing, and still seeking answers is a testament to an inner fortitude that is incredibly rare. You have blamed yourself for the friction. You have overanalyzed every misstep, wondering if you are simply not good enough, or if you somehow manifested this chaos through your own flaws. Stop doing that. I need you to completely release that guilt right now. You are not being punished by life, you are being purified. You have been placed inside a high-pressure psychological crucible. The intense heat of these circumstances was designed to burn away every single thing in your life that is not aligned with your ultimate purpose. The people who betrayed you, they had to be removed because they could not handle the version of you that is about to emerge. The unstable foundations, they had to collapse because you were trying to build a magnificent structure on a foundation meant for a temporary shed. Every tear, every moment of panic, every silent plea for help was actually a mechanism of necessary destruction, clearing the debris so you can finally build something unbreakable. But here is the revelation that will change everything for how you view your past. These specific pains you have been enduring, the crushing isolation, the betrayal of trust, the terrifying collapse of your safety nets, these are not random, chaotic events. They are exactly 3 of the 7 mandatory stages of total psychological and spiritual transformation. Every single person who reaches a master level of living must pass through these 7 specific gates. And the profound truth is, if you are resonating with this message, you have already survived the hardest parts. You are currently standing on the threshold of the final stage. The agonizing struggle is about to finally make sense. Let me walk you through this entire 7-stage framework so you can see exactly where you are and, more importantly, what is about to happen next. Here is the complete framework. There are 7 distinct, mandatory stages of profound psychological and spiritual transformation. Every true visionary, every individual who has ever broken generational curses or stepped into a life of massive impact has had to walk through these exact 7 fires. Stage 1 is the illusion drop. This is the brutal awakening. For years, you operated under a specific set of rules that society handed to you. You believed that if you were simply a good person, if you worked hard, played by the rules, and treated others with kindness, the universe would naturally reward you in return. You believed in the inherent fairness of the world. But then, the illusion drop happened. Something occurred in your life that shattered that innocent worldview into a million irreversible pieces. It might have been a systemic failure, a horrific injustice, or a realization that the people you looked up to were operating behind masks of deceit. In this first stage, the veil is violently ripped away. You realize that the structures you trusted, whether they were institutional, relational, or ideological, are profoundly flawed. This stage is marked by deep grief. It is the grief of losing your innocence. You cannot unsee what you have seen. You can no longer pretend that the superficial games people play are normal. The cognitive dissonance is deafening, and while it feels like you are losing your mind, what is actually happening is that you are losing your programming. The matrix has unplugged you, and the blinding light of reality hurts your eyes. But this is the necessary first step. You cannot build a life of absolute truth on a foundation of comforting lies. Stage 2 is the void. Once the illusions drop, you inevitably enter the wilderness. The void is characterized by a profound, agonizing isolation. It is the season where the universe forcefully clears the stage of your life. Friends who used to resonate with you suddenly feel like strangers. Conversations that used to stimulate you now feel unbearable, draining, and entirely pointless. You find yourself retreating. Your circle shrinks drastically, often leaving you standing completely alone. In the void, nothing makes sense. The old you is dead, but the new you has not yet been born. It is the psychological equivalent of a caterpillar turning into liquid inside the chrysalis before it becomes a butterfly. It is a messy, confusing, and terrifying dark space. You feel unmoored, drifting in an ocean of uncertainty, wondering if you will ever feel normal again. You pray for direction, you ask for signs, and all you receive is a deafening, heavy silence. But here is the secret of the void. That silence is an incubator. The isolation is not a punishment, it is a divine quarantine. Your energy is being meticulously protected from external influences, from the vampires and the distractions that would taint your transformation. You are being forced to sit with your own soul, to hear your own thoughts, without the static of the world telling you who you are supposed to be. Stage 3 is the boundary test. As you begin to find your footing in the dark, the universe will introduce the third fire. This is where your resolve is tested through conflict. In the past, you were a peacekeeper. You were the one who compromised, the one who swallowed your own discomfort to make sure everyone else in the room was happy. You suffered from a chronic savior complex, giving your energy to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. The boundary test forces you into situations where your old people-pleasing habits will absolutely destroy you if you do not abandon them. Toxic dynamics will resurface. Takers will return, demanding access to your time, your resources, and your empathy. Narcissistic individuals will push your buttons, expecting you to fold like you always did. This stage is a brutal final exam to see if you have truly learned your worth. You are forced to look someone in the eye, someone you perhaps love, and say the word no. And you have to say it without apologizing. You have to watch them get angry, watch them play the victim, watch them attempt to guilt-trip you, and you must stand firm in your truth. The guilt you feel during this stage is immense, but it is a false guilt. Passing the boundary test means you finally realize that your peace is infinitely more valuable than their validation. You stop betraying yourself to keep others comfortable. Stage 4 is pattern cleansing. This is the phase of intense internal audit, often referred to as shadow work. You have cleared the external toxins, now you must clear the internal ones. You realize that you cannot simply blame the world for your pain anymore. You have to take radical, uncomfortable accountability for your own self-sabotaging behaviors. You begin to observe your own mind with ruthless objectivity. Why do you procrastinate? Why do you push good things away when they get too close? Why do you have a subconscious fear of success? In this stage, you confront the generational trauma that was handed down to you, the scarcity mindsets, the anxieties, the deeply ingrained beliefs that you are not enough. This is the psychological detox. It is painful because it requires you to look in the mirror and admit where you have been the author of your own suffering. But as you identify these toxic neural pathways, you begin to systematically dismantle them. You rewire your brain's dopamine baseline. You stop reacting to triggers and start responding from a place of grounded consciousness. You are literally rewriting your own genetic code, breaking chains that have plagued your family line for decades. You become the cycle breaker. Stage 5 is the pressure of delay. This is the stage that breaks the most people. You have done the work. You have set the boundaries. You have cleared the trauma. You have aligned your intentions, and you are taking massive action. By all logical metrics, you should be seeing extraordinary results. The harvest should be here, but instead, nothing happens. The doors remain firmly locked. The opportunities fall through at the last minute. The financial breakthrough stalls. The relationship does not materialize. You enter a waiting room that feels like it lasts an eternity. The pressure builds exponentially. You watch people who have not done a fraction of the inner work you have done seemingly effortlessly achieve the things you are praying for. The temptation to become bitter here is overwhelming. You scream at the sky, asking what more you could possibly have to do. But here is the ultimate truth about the delay. It is not denial. It is structural reinforcement. The universe is about to hand you a level of influence, wealth, and responsibility that is so massive, so heavy, that if it were placed upon your current foundation, it would crush you instantly. The delay is the process of digging the foundation deeper. Think of the Chinese bamboo tree. It is watered and nurtured for 5 years, showing absolutely no visible growth above the soil. All the growth is happening underground, building a massive root system. Then, in the 5th year, it shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. You are in the root-building phase. The pressure is the kinetic energy being stored in the slingshot as it is pulled back to the absolute limit. Stage 6 is ego surrender. This is the climax of the transformation. It is the dark night of the soul. The pressure of the delay becomes so immense that your rational mind simply gives up. You realize that no amount of pushing, forcing, grinding, or controlling is going to make the door open before its appointed time. Your ego, the part of you that believes it has to orchestrate every detail, manage every outcome, and protect you from every danger, finally collapses out of sheer exhaustion. You hit your knees, metaphorically or physically, and you wave the white flag. You surrender. But this is not the surrender of a victim giving up on life. It is the surrender of a master yielding to the divine flow of the universe. You say, I am done trying to force my will. I release my grip on how I think this needs to happen. I trust the process completely. The moment you truly surrender, not just intellectually, but deep in your nervous system, a profound, unshakable peace washes over you. You stop operating from a state of survival and frantic desperation. You detach from the outcome. Paradoxically, the very second you genuinely let go of the need to control the blessing, you become entirely ready to receive it. Stage 7 is the activation point. And listen to me very carefully, because this is precisely where you are standing right now. You have survived the illusion drop. You navigated the void. You passed the boundary test. You cleansed your patterns, you endured the crushing pressure of delay, and you have finally surrendered your ego. Now, the shift begins. The activation point is the glorious dawn after the longest night, It is the moment when all the accumulated kinetic energy from your trials is suddenly released into momentum. You are no longer trying to swim upstream. You are riding the current. In this stage, your intuition becomes razor sharp. You no longer second-guess yourself. You possess a quiet, unshakable confidence, an inner knowing that does not require anyone else's validation. Synchronicity becomes your daily reality. You start encountering the right people at the exact right time. Opportunities begin to materialize seemingly out of thin air, perfectly tailored to your unique gifts. The doors that were violently locked in stage 5 suddenly swing wide open with the slightest touch. The financial blockages dissolve. But you navigate this new abundance completely differently than the old you would have. You are not desperate for it. You do not derive your self-worth from it. You steward it with wisdom, grace, and immense gratitude. You realize that every single agonizing trial you went through was absolutely necessary to temper your spirit for this exact moment. The isolation taught you self-reliance. The betrayal taught you discernment. The delay taught you patience. You look back at your journey not with pain, but with profound reverence for the architectural genius of your own life's design. You are activated. You are fully online. You have transitioned from the student of your circumstances to the absolute master of your reality. You have to completely shatter the way you have been viewing your own history. Up until this exact moment, you have been looking at your past through the lens of a victim. You have looked at the delays, the betrayals, and the isolation as evidence that you were somehow fundamentally flawed, or that the universe was actively punishing you. I need you to take that entire narrative, tear it up, and burn it. We are going to reframe everything. Think about the fundamental laws of tension and release. An arrow can only be shot by pulling it backward. When life is dragging you back with intense, agonizing difficulties, it is not because you are failing. It is because you are being loaded into the bow. The farther back you are pulled into the darkness, the more kinetic energy is being stored within your spirit. You were not regressing. You were simply gathering the necessary momentum to be launched into an entirely new stratosphere. The tension was the exact measure of your upcoming trajectory. Now, let us reframe the concept of rejection and loss. You have shed so many tears over the people who walked away from you, the friends who ghosted you, and the relationships that dissolved into nothing. You viewed their departure as a reflection of your unworthiness. Hear me clearly, their exit was not a rejection. It was a divine interception. It was absolute protection. You are operating on a frequency that is rapidly elevating, and those individuals simply did not have the energetic capacity to breathe at the altitude you are ascending to. If they had stayed, they would have become heavy anchors, dragging you back down to a timeline you have outgrown. The doors that slammed in your face, the opportunities that were inexplicably revoked at the last minute, those were not failures. They were energetic barricades put in place to prevent you from entering rooms that were entirely too small for your expanding spirit. You were crying over a locked door, not realizing it was keeping you from a burning building. Every single no you received over the last few years was a carefully orchestrated redirection toward the ultimate yes. You have spent an immense amount of time observing, analyzing, and trying to understand the intricate depths of human behavior. You have dove headfirst into the psychology of why people do what they do, relentlessly analyzing your own mental frameworks and the behavioral patterns of those around you. You thought this intense analytical nature was just a coping mechanism, a way to protect yourself from getting hurt again by predicting human actions. But it was so much more than that. You were in an intense, immersive training program. You were studying the underlying source code of human nature. By understanding the profound psychological triggers, the traumas, and the emotional currents that drive humanity, you have equipped yourself with a rare and masterful level of empathy and strategic insight. You are no longer just an observer of human behavior, you have become a master navigator of it. This deep psychological awareness is your greatest superpower. It is the exact tool you will use to connect, influence, and heal on a massive scale. Because of this profound inner work, you are no longer a passive character reacting to a chaotic narrative. You are transitioning into the director's chair. You are the scriptwriter of your own existence, meticulously crafting the sequential scenes of your upcoming reality. You are no longer waiting for the world to happen to you. You are actively producing the reality you wish to inhabit. Every thought you choose to entertain, every boundary you set, and every action you take is a deliberate stroke of design on the canvas of your life. You have learned how to structure your internal world so powerfully that the external world has no choice but to visually and physically conform to it. It is time to step fully into your new identity. You are not a survivor of a tragic past. You are the architect of a new generation. You are what many call a light worker, a cycle breaker, a visionary who took the heavy, toxic karma of your bloodline and transmuted it into absolute gold. You have walked through the fire, but you did not just survive it, you absorbed its heat, and now you carry that light within you to illuminate the path for others. Stand up straight, roll your shoulders back, claim this elevated version of yourself. You are the one you have been waiting for, and the world is finally ready for your debut. But here is the critical pivot you must make right now. You have the awareness, and your spirit is finally activated, but your physical brain, your actual neural pathways, has been deeply wired for stress, survival, and scarcity over the last several years. You cannot simply think your way out of a biological loop. If you do not actively rewire your brain's physical baseline, you will subconsciously pull yourself right back into the very cycles of self-sabotage you just escaped. This is where the intersection of advanced behavioral psychology and neurobiology becomes your ultimate advantage. Recently, leading researchers in cognitive neuroscience have uncovered a groundbreaking principle regarding the brain's reward system. They have identified a precise, highly specific, 9-minute daily cognitive habit that completely resets your dopamine baseline. We are not talking about superficial positive thinking, fleeting motivation, or empty affirmations. We are talking about physically altering the synaptic connections in your mind. This exact 9-minute protocol bypasses your conscious resistance and directly targets the subconscious programming that controls your financial reality, your creative output, and your emotional stability. Thousands of everyday people who were completely trapped in the exact same paralyzing delays and financial blockages you have experienced are now using this exact protocol. The documented results have been staggering. People are reporting that their chronic, heavy anxiety is evaporating within days. They are suddenly noticing massive financial opportunities that were previously invisible to them. They are breaking through years of mental stagnation and stepping into levels of abundance they never thought possible. However, you need to understand something very important about how this world operates. This powerful information that actually emancipates people from the cycle of endless consumption, debt, and constant anxiety is not profitable for the mainstream media or the algorithms. The systems that govern our digital world thrive on your stress, your fear, and your continuous distraction. Because of this specific neuroprotocol is being heavily suppressed. We are constantly fighting algorithmic shadows to keep this visible, and there is a very real possibility that this information could be entirely restricted or removed from public access without any prior warning. Do not let the incredible momentum you have built in this exact moment slip away. You are standing at the absolute tipping point. The universe has brought you the awareness, but you must take the physical action. Scroll down to the comments section right now and click the very first link pinned at the top. Secure your access to this 9-minute protocol before it is taken down forever, and permanently hardwire this new reality into your brain. Close your eyes for a moment and project yourself exactly 90 days into the future. I want you to clearly visualize the sequential, scene-by-scene unfolding of your new reality. The heavy fog of confusion and doubt that used to dictate your mornings has completely lifted. In its place is a razor-sharp, crystalline clarity. You are no longer second-guessing every move you make, agonizing over every detail, or over-analyzing the hidden intentions of others. Your decision-making process has become instantaneous and precise, guided by a refined intuition that has been forged in the extreme heat of your past trials. You will notice that toxic relationships and energy-draining dynamics do not need to be forcefully, painfully severed anymore. They simply fall away on their own. They naturally drop out of the frame of your life because they can no longer latch onto your elevated frequency. You are operating on a completely different wavelength, and the static simply disappears. But here is the critical pivot you must make right now. You have the awareness, and your spirit is finally activated, but your physical brain, your actual neural pathways, has been deeply wired for stress, survival, and scarcity over the last several years. You cannot simply think your way out of a biological loop. If you do not actively rewire your brain's physical baseline, you will subconsciously pull yourself right back into the very cycles of self-sabotage you just escaped. This is where the intersection of advanced behavioral psychology and neurobiology becomes your ultimate advantage. Recently, leading researchers in cognitive neuroscience have uncovered a groundbreaking principle regarding the brain's reward system. They have identified a precise, highly specific, 9-minute daily cognitive habit that completely resets your dopamine baseline. We are not talking about superficial positive thinking, fleeting motivation, or empty affirmations. We are talking about physically altering the synaptic connections in your mind. This exact 9-minute protocol bypasses your conscious resistance and directly targets the subconscious programming that controls your financial reality, your creative output, and your emotional stability. Thousands of everyday people who were completely trapped in the exact same paralyzing delays and financial blockages you have experienced are now using this exact protocol. The documented results have been staggering. People are reporting that their chronic, heavy anxiety is evaporating within days. They are suddenly noticing massive financial opportunities that were previously invisible to them. They are breaking through years of mental stagnation and stepping into levels of abundance they never thought possible. However, you need to understand something very important about how this world operates. This powerful information that actually emancipates people from the cycle of endless consumption, debt, and constant anxiety is not profitable for the mainstream media or the algorithms. The systems that govern our digital world thrive on your stress, your fear, and your continuous distraction. Because of this specific neuroprotocol is being heavily suppressed. We are constantly fighting algorithmic shadows to keep this visible, and there is a very real possibility that this information could be entirely restricted or removed from public access without any prior warning. Do not let the incredible momentum you have built in this exact moment slip away. You are standing at the absolute tipping point. The universe has brought you the awareness, but you must take the physical action. Scroll down to the comments section right now and click the very first link pinned at the top. Secure your access to this 9-minute protocol before it is taken down forever, and permanently hardwire this new reality into your brain. Close your eyes for a moment and project yourself exactly 90 days into the future. I want you to clearly visualize the sequential, scene-by-scene unfolding of your new reality. The heavy fog of confusion and doubt that used to dictate your mornings has completely lifted. In its place is a razor-sharp, crystalline clarity. You are no longer second-guessing every move you make, agonizing over every detail, or over-analyzing the hidden intentions of others. Your decision-making process has become instantaneous and precise, guided by a refined intuition that has been forged in the extreme heat of your past trials. You will notice that toxic relationships and energy-draining dynamics do not need to be forcefully, painfully severed anymore. They simply fall away on their own. They naturally drop out of the frame of your life because they can no longer latch onto your elevated frequency. You are operating on a completely different wavelength, and the static simply disappears. As you move through this next 90-day sequence, unexpected financial and creative opportunities will begin to materialize with startling speed. Because you have done the deep psychological work to clear your internal blockages, you are no longer subconsciously pushing away your own abundance. You will find yourself stepping into new rooms and connecting with high-level individuals who instantly recognize the immense value of what you produce and the depth of your insight. You are fundamentally transitioning from being a passive consumer of your circumstances to becoming the executive producer of your own life. Every single day is a blank, open script, and you are writing the narrative with absolute authority. You are designing the visual sequence of your future events with deliberate intention and quiet power. You are actively directing your focus, casting the right people to be in your inner circle, and ruthlessly editing out the unnecessary noise. However, I must issue a critical, urgent warning about this upcoming phase. As this rapid expansion occurs, you will inevitably encounter the most dangerous trap of all: complacency. When the agonizing pain finally stops and the abundance starts flowing smoothly, human behavior naturally tends to relax. The ego will whisper that you have finally arrived, that you can stop doing the daily internal work, and that you can let your guard down. Do not listen to that voice. Blessing requires rigorous maintenance. Favor demands active stewardship. You cannot afford to abandon the strict discipline that got you out of the dark void just because you are finally standing in the warm light. You must actively protect your energy now more than ever before. Treat your boundaries like an impenetrable fortress. Stay incredibly intentional with your daily routines. Remain grounded and humble in your exponential growth, and continue to study the depths of your own psychology. The momentum you are building right now is spectacular, but it requires your continuous, conscious direction to keep it exactly on track. You are the sole architect, the director, and the primary creator of this unfolding masterpiece. If you fully accept the energy of this massive, life-altering shift, and you are prepared to steward the immense abundance coming your way, take a deep breath, go down to the comments below, and type the exact phrase, "I create my reality." Let this be the physical signature that officially seals your commitment to this new timeline. This is the final frame of your old narrative. I want you to take a profound, conscious breath and let every single word I am about to say anchor deep into your nervous system. Every silent tear you shed in the dark, every agonizing moment of self-doubt, and every single time you chose empathy over bitterness when no one was watching it has all been recognized. None of your unseen efforts were wasted. They were the essential, raw materials required to construct the absolute masterpiece of the reality you are stepping into right now. The grueling era of endless preparation has officially concluded. The psychological crucible you were forced into did not break you. It refined you into a structure that is completely unbreakable. You are no longer the understudy in someone else's chaotic, unwritten drama. You have confidently taken the director's chair, the lighting has shifted, and the stage is entirely yours. Because you have taken the time to deeply understand the complex layers of human behavior and master the shadows of your own mind, you now hold the pen to the exact sequential script of your future. You are actively producing the greatest chapter of your existence. You are completely, undeniably ready. Do not ever shrink yourself to make others comfortable again. Walk forward into this new era with the quiet, unshakable pride of a master who has willingly stepped through the most intense fire and emerged not as ashes, but as the flame itself. Your new trajectory begins the exact moment this screen goes dark. Take one last deep breath, hold your vision, and execute. Keep the screen completely still. Let the silence echo for 5 full seconds. The shift is permanent.